It's a fact you're not here. You ain't even real, but you still bring me fear. You make my bones so tired that my soul stands up. But now I'm starting to need to bleed to fill this cup. It's like I'm starting to need to bleed to fill this cup. Oh.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to The Working Wing, the podcast where every week we bring you the news from around the country and around the world and break it down from our own unique working leftist perspective. My name is Tim Schultz, and joining me, as always, my dear friend, longtime debate partner, and a proud graduate of the Hanna-Barbera Business School, Killian Collins. Who's that under that mask? Oh, it's Killian Collins.
Here. Well, Tim, it's good to be here. It's good to see you. And we're here for the last week of April of 2023. So here we are.
Yes, indeed. And I think the top story politically this week is that the long wait is over. Joe Biden has finally officially announced that he is running for president.
Yep, he is. Old Joe is sticking around. He is not providing a successor.
It's time to finish the job.
And that's what the Grim Reaper is probably also thinking right now too. It's
just like, yeah, as a campaign slogan, it's like it does itself raise the question of like, okay, if we need to elect you to finish the job, what the fuck are you doing right now, Joe?
Yeah, I think that's ultimately going to be the biggest question with these Democrats. I mean, they don't seem too serious right now. I mean, did you watch the I mean, I'm sure if you're on YouTube, you're seeing it all over YouTube right now. But you saw like the video we had to drop the campaign, right?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, the first 5 seconds are a joke. Like it's showing like January 6th, and I'm sure like people are saying you see January 6th footage, and then Joe Biden slurs freedom, and it's sad because that's the best take they could have. Like that was the best take.
They probably did like 10 takes of that, and they're like, well, you can like make out what he's saying this time, so right. I guess we'll run with this one. Well, right. It's just like like I was listening to some fucking pundit talk about the Biden campaign. On Start Here earlier this week, and it really seems like the strategy is that he's just not going to campaign.
Yeah, that was the strategy in 2020.
It led me to thinking about the presidential electoral career of Joseph Biden. All right, he has officially launched 4 different presidential campaigns. All right, he ran in '88. And was forced to drop out after he plagiarized a British Labour leader in his stump speech. He ran in 2008, 20 years later, and secured less than 1% of the vote in the Iowa caucus. So, like, on Succession, everyone has a good laugh at like Connor Roy, but like his 1% in a national general election is far more impressive than Joe Biden had managed in like the first 40 years of his political career. And now he is about to secure a second presidential term without ever campaigning. So it's like this man has got to be actually, like, oddly enough, one of the worst presidential campaigners in history. Because like, if I was just reading about his first 2 campaigns, and both times it's like, oh yeah, no, he's got a lot of establishment endorsements. He's got a ton of big money because that's who he's worked for his entire political career. But like when you put him out in front of real people and he has to convince people to vote for him, he completely falls apart. And he's about to become a 2-term president without ever actually having to go out on the campaign trail.
Well, and here's the thing. Well, here's the scary thing I keep thinking about, Tim, is it's just like
let's finish, like, to finish the job. It's like, that is the perfect understand. I mean, it makes me think of Succession, where it's like, well, death just seems like creeping around the corner. All it needs is just like the wind blowing the wrong way, and he takes a fall, and it looks bad. And it's like, well, all the capacity, and then it's like, I'm wondering at that point, it's like, well, like, if he's like out of commission or something, if he's like mentally unable to like even do any of these things, would they like keep it up front? Would they like allow Kamala Harris to like take the presidency? Would they kind of just like make decisions for him? Like,
That's
like,
an interesting question.
it's an interest.
Because I feel like they would not want to elevate Kevin McCarthy or whoever the fuck
Yep.
to the vice presidency. So I
Yep.
think there is some serious motivation to keep Biden in the chair.
Yes.
Whether he's sitting up himself or being held up by strings or
vegetable or not vegetable.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting question. And it's like, yeah, the man's going to be like fucking like what, like 87, 88 years old?
And looks it too, like
And
looks it bad. And this is not an FDR who I don't think can like really lead the country through like a big tumultuous period at the end of his life. I don't think this is like a man of that caliber. like and then the least at all. This is like a senior citizen senator who is corrupt as hell and is pretty much only there because like they could cling his name onto Obama's, and it was popular enough that what's his name, South Carolina, fucking not Jim Crawley or Jim Carwell, it's that fuckhead it was the corrupt civil rights guy who it, like, basically told all his constituents in South Carolina to vote for Joe Biden, like, you know, like those kind of fucks.
Yeah. All right, so clearly you and I are probably not going to end up voting for Joe Biden.
Tim, I'm proud of you for like being ready to vote for Biden.
I kind of like the whole railroad, the whole union busting stint he went on last December was really the breaking point. And nothing that's happened since has been like, oh wow, yeah, no, Joe's got my interests at heart, and he's really fighting for me.
Yeah.
So you had some alternate candidates that you wanted to.
Well, I wanted to mention as well in the Democratic running, which is like just a big joke in itself, is that we have in this running too, the two big names we do have is Marianne Williamson,
right,
and
a professional con artist.
Well, her demographic is like vulnerable rich women who really need to feel better about things.
I don't feel so bad for her victims in this instance, but she is a con woman.
Oh yeah, totally. Like she is like and which is like, or in other words, like a person
snake oil salesman, whatever you.
Well, yeah. I was gonna say make a joke that, you know, a person living off like a upper class person in California. I was gonna say, like, you're basically a con artist if you're doing well there. So it's like, yeah, right. So right, like any of these kind of grifter fucks, like, will definitely the type of person to throw you into a pyramid scheme, but she's a little more clever than that. But anyway, it's her who's running as a Democrat, who essentially is like the same kind of, for the most part, the same kind of like neo-lib policy. She's basically trying to like shout out to donors, like, hey, like hey, I'll do your bidding, but like I'm like the real person. Like,
yeah, that's the curious thing is, yeah, when you look at like Marianne Williamson or you look at RFK Jr., it's like these people are just staking out the same neoliberal territory as Joe Biden. And it's
for the most part, yeah.
What do you guys, what's your play there? Like, what do you think you're going to accomplish trying to move to the center on Joe fucking Biden?
Yeah. Well, yeah. If it's even, I mean, I think, well, when Marion, and I'll get to, the other one is RFK Jr. So Rob Kennedy's son, who is basically just coming out of the woodworks, has never run for public office, never done anything, like very much another Connor Roy.
Yeah.
A person like
scion of a rich family, has done a lot of environmental activism,
yes,
but politically has just kind of always thrown his name behind whatever neoliberal politician is in the spotlight moment to moment.
And the thing is, if he's really caring about like environmental stuff, he can really just run with the Green Party, give them a boost. Like, they could probably fucking use it.
Except that he has a long, I was reading about him before we jumped on air, and so he was actually friends and colleagues with Ralph Nader in
was he?
And they worked together on a bunch of environmental issues. But then when Ralph Nader was running in 2000 against Al Gore, RFK specifically called him out multiple times for wrecking Al Gore's chances, essentially stealing Al Gore's votes.
What a punk! What a punk! I mean, that kind of just says like where he's going to be at the end of the day, and he's basically just using like the crisis of today to, you know, elevate himself.
Yeah.
It seems like, I mean, and that's the whole thing is that like, you know, I saw an interview that like RFK had on like some other person, and this person was kind of pushing him on just like, hey, like I hate the Democratic Party, like I haven't trusted them like at all, and like my biggest problem with you and your politics, this is a person that was more eye to eye with the things that he believes. And it's like, okay, but I have a problem that you're running under the Democrats. It's like, you're not going to get anywhere with it. Like, I'm just being realistic.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you, like, you're not going to get on a debate. They're not going to have debates. They're not going to really have a primary. Like,
no, it's not going to be a real primary. And yeah.
Like, why don't you just run independent instead? Or why don't you just like give any of this, like, or give your support behind like some of these issues that really matter? And it's not because it's about that at all. It's the dude had nothing to say. He just had to like, oh, you make a good point. It's like, well, yeah, obviously he's just kind of in it to just like elevate his own name, and his own name is elevated if he's in the Democratic Party, rather than if the cause he's fighting for has a smaller name recognition than his own name, he doesn't want to be a part of it. He wants to be a part of something that's going to like elevate his name. He wants to be a Democratic presidential candidate. That's what he wants to be. Not like not at all actually fighting for any of these causes.
Yeah.
And that's
it's just so Fox News did release a poll yesterday. According to Fox News anyways, RFK Jr. has 19% support among likely Democrats. Which is honestly a surprisingly, I mean, Biden is polling at 62%.
Oh,
by comparison.
Yeah, that's not. I've seen polls of Biden polling down to 70, and that's like, that's still not good.
It's not good, but Biden also rearranged the entire Democratic primary schedule to favor himself.
Yeah.
He's
going to be the nominee. Like, honestly,
he's going to be the nominee.
If you don't want to be president, you should just hope the Grim Reaper like pays him a visit. It's like that's the only chance he has to like not be in the oval, or to not actually be in the running.
Now you said in a text message to me last night that Afro Man is running as well.
Oh, I was going to say,
tell me about Afro Man campaign, because I might have found my candidate for this election.
You may have. I mean, and that's the thing, is that there's issues. I'm sure there's issues that I might not see eye to eye with him completely on, but yes, Afro Man of the fame, the song Because I Got High, of that fame, and also a victim of a very unnecessary police raid as of last year.
Yeah,
has been he has actually put his paperwork into the Federal Election Committee, and he is running for president officially as an independent. And you can go visit his website at Afroman 2020 Fro. As they're calling it there. They're having a good time with it. But actually, I think I just gotta get this up here around nice here. Yes. He's got a website up, and he's got 8 priorities up, but I'll just list the first couple. First one is decriminalizing cannabis by taking it off of the federal government's Schedule 1 narcotics. By taking, which is like so easily can be done by any president up to this point. They all could have done this. And yeah, that is his top priority. He is promising a very doable ask. Now, I want to ask the American people here: have you ever heard like the first thing they're running on is something that is like so extremely doable that they can do it themselves? I mean, I'll wait. Like, I'll wait a while. I mean, everyone's trying to like say they can unite the country, which honestly he gets on a little bit too. But I'm not going to give too much guff for that. But number 2 priority is criminal justice reform. Citing that the number of individuals incarcerated for cannabis at any moment is over 400,000 people. The annual cost to house these inmates is nearly $1.5 billion. He will communicate all sentences for all nonviolent cannabis users. So, yes, I'm not sure how he's going to be able to do that with the states at hand, but hey, it's at least good to have a person fighting for that. And then number 3 is law enforcement reform. Mandatory body cameras for every law enforcement officer will be required under this administration. If sporting events have instant replay, so can traffic stops. Any officers caught abusing their authority will be terminated. There we go. I think this guy would be a lot more open to, something like, getting rid of, what was it called? Preventive. What is the lack of liability thing, or of professional? What is it called again, Tim? With police reform that we're trying to get.
Qualified immunity.
Getting rid of qualified immunity. That's what it's called. He sounds like a lot more open to that type of thing. So really pretty good. Reparations is number 5 on there. Reparations for ending the war on trade and stopping foreign aid. Take these savings distributed to families negatively affected by the atrocities of slavery. And I'm pretty big on that. You can go to his website for afromanforpresident.com. You can read more about him, donate if you want to. But that is an independent candidate running for president. He's not under the Green Party or anything else right now. He is his own party. He's his own man. He's his own boss. So
honestly, that's probably who I'm going to vote for.
He's the number 1 candidate on my list. And I will be promoting him whenever I can, because honestly, these Democrats could do better. And here's the point, folks, to those folks saying out there like, well, he's not going to win anyway. Hold on now. Does Joe Biden need your vote? Does Donald Trump or Rick DeSantis,
Ron DeSantis,
or whatever Republican ghoul they get going up there, do they really need your vote just to stick it to the person you hate? Or are you going to give that vote to someone who actually is way more deserving of it, is way more understanding of your situation, and isn't working for any of these corporate-owned, corporate bullshit parties?
Yeah, who's actually got like actual charisma and like experience connecting with like groups of people that as we just discussed earlier, Joe Biden has never successfully done.
No. And with these clowns as a president, wouldn't you rather have a rapper as president? I
would. Yeah. It makes sense to me.
And not like Zelensky, where he's a comedian. I mean, as in these clowns, as in they're funny to laugh at. but they'll have a little levity there, but dear God, but also at the end of the day, it's like I'm hoping that like there will be some smart platforms to get him on to get at least some media attention for Afro Man, because I know CNN's not going to do it. Fox News probably won't do it unless they put on some crazy person who's willing to have like lefties are willing to take away votes from Joe Biden, which I'm all for, because that means you have more power, and that means they might have to listen to these issues a little bit. Because hey, if Joe Biden decides to say like, well, I'm gonna like take marijuana off Schedule 1 just because of Afro Man's campaign, that's a win. That's a win as far in my book, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm fine bringing this up for the debates too. But speaking of that, speaking of these 2 anchors of these 2 networks not airing important people, we've had a little purge of corporate media. We've had the number one watched Fox News show anchor in some cases being fired, but in other cases I've seen of just him losing his TV show, but he's still under contract for Fox News. But Don Lemon also got fired of CNN, also got fired from his.
Monday was a crazy day for like the media landscape, because Don Lemon got fired. Honestly, at the end of the day, I think kind of for similar reasons in both cases.
Yeah. I mean, I'm willing. I think there's been a lot of speculation on both sides. I really think that
there's a lot of speculation. There's no hard evidence. What's known is that Don Lemon has had a number of incidents over his short tenure as like the CNN like morning show host.
Yeah. And I'm just looking at some of the stuff, and mostly just the stuff it is just kind of like talking over and like talking above his basically just female anchors and news reporters. Like just basically kind of throwing his weight around and really egoing around, which is really, it's really kind of funny.
He said that Nikki Haley wasn't in her prime because she's not a 20-year-old woman.
to two women, who are just like
women. Yeah. Well, it's just like when you think morning news, like that's the Today Show. Like that's your competition. That's
not shit, really.
It's like that's the demographic that you're aiming for. So when you're screaming at women on screen and like making sexist comments about female politicians, it's like even Tucker Carlson only did that in text messages. It's like that.
Right, you keep that shit off the air. Like, you got to be like you got to be like Bill O'Reilly and like wait, just like wait until like you're not recording live to scream. Maybe if they're recording, you're okay, but.
And honestly, I think Tucker Carlson is the bigger political story here because it's like he did have an active role in like shaping conservative talking points.
Oh yeah,
like
and
his show thus far and was slated to be like the path through which Republican nominations occurred. Every Republican candidate had appeared on his show multiple times.
Yeah, no, he actually seemed. And it's funny because like among like Fox viewers, he kind of seems to be more of a against the grain person, like which is like this is like at least according to like comparisons like Sean Hannity, who in every way is like the corporate double good boy. Will double down on things if he knows that like he has backing of them somewhere. But Carlson seems a little bit more following his own compass, which is sometimes attracted by
his own compass towards the white nationalist movement. Seems to be where his own compass inevitably pointed.
Well, I was gonna say wherever the money trail like seemed to be sniffing, but then sometimes he has his own odd, surprising people he platforms on there. But that's I think what makes him more watched is that he definitely like. Was able to get. I don't think it's just the white supremacists here. I think he attracted bigger crowds than just that. Like I think the white supremacists have plenty of favorites on Fox. To be honest with you, they have all their favorite flavors to choose from.
I mean, first it was Bill O'Reilly and it was Glenn Beck before it was Tucker Carlson, and before long they will have another. To quote the episode of Succession that we're going to be talking about today. They'll have another short man with big veins yelling at the screen soon enough.
Yeah. Like for sure. For sure they're gonna have someone like that. But it
seems like similarly Tucker was there's a whole separate from like the multiple voting system lawsuits Fox is dealing with. Tucker Carlson is being sued for like sexual harassment backstage on his show. He also like called some of his bosses the C word in texts that were leaked as a part of the Dominion voting system. Apparently he was like always throwing his dick around backstage at Fox.
Yeah.
Trying to claim that he was bigger than the network. And
sounds like a real Ellen DeGeneres.
Kinda, yeah.
That's a joke to me. I'm saying that they're all the same, but all these media personalities, I mean.
Yeah, it really. At the end of the day, it really does seem like that. Yeah, and it seems like this came directly from the very top. That Murdoch himself.
And there's a lot of speculation about why exactly these two men are fired. I think it's probably like a complexity of both of these issues, and because honestly, with all these corporate places, they do accept like a lot of malfeasance until like I feel like it's like they record like a little dossier of malfeasance on you until they really want you gone.
That's one line that I saw in one of the stories I read about this. That people believe that the Murdochs have just a whole dossier on Tucker. If he tries to hit back at them too hard, they will just start leaking shit about him left and right.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised with CNN either, where it's like I don't see it's all true. I'm sure that there's like been sexual misconduct that they've like turned the other cheek to, depending on how important a person is to them. But like, you know, if they really just want to get rid of them, they always have that story in their back pocket to be like, bye. Because Don Lemon was taken by surprise, and that's what's
He was,
kind of makes me happy, is that it's like, oh, you got hit from the side. kind of like when we heard that, like you reporting on Ferguson, and it was like, you could really smell the smell of marijuana smoke in the air here. It's like, oh, thanks. Thanks for helping those folks, Don. Real man of the people. But anyway, still talking about corporate media. We are on to the middle of the season episode of the 4th season of Succession. The episode dubbed The Kill List. And it's been a rough couple of days for the Roys, but we really start this episode off very strong. Season 1, Kendall in a limousine, blasting out Jay-Z.
We're back on the bullshit. Blasting
the takeover.
Jay-Z. Hey, the takeover.
Dude, like it's like I can't wait until our friend Kenny watches the show eventually, and like he starts up with, and it's like, well, dude, already I'm thinking it's like, dude, he's got the takeover on, like he's just like hopefully I hope someone like Kendall Roy like is into our other side project, Bardic Bards. Who shout out to Bardic Bards, which it ain't out yet, but we're coming soon to some ears near you. But anyway, Kendall is in there blasting some Jay-Z, like ready to go, ready to stack them, and ready to basically stack bodies,
rack them and stack them. He's just full swagger.
Comes in ready to tell people what's up, what to do, like way more confident than we've ever seen him. Like way more confident,
which is always a bad sign.
Yes.
Whenever anybody out in the Roys is like feeling good about themselves, it's never justified and it's never a good thing.
No, hardly ever.
Hugo hits him with a suggestion as they're walking up of CE Bros.
As a bad idea, like admitting it's a bad idea.
The bad version, which I feel I see what Hugo is going for, of hit them with the bad idea first, and that way when you come back with something better, maybe that goes down easier.
It shines a little bit more.
But Hugo ain't gonna have a job in a few days, so
yeah.
We will get to that. Yeah. Roman is in there also on his bullshit, trying to sound confident, like he knows things about stuff.
Yeah, no, I remember. Roman. I'm sorry. Kendall comes into like applause from the workers coming in.
Yes.
And of course Roman's just like, oh, the fucking theatrics of this place, like that little like, oh yeah, kind of considering you to do that. But yeah, no, also like Roman's also on the same kind of confidence boost of like, I have my team here and we're ready to go. Hugo, don't talk to my team, please. Like just leave them alone. Leave them be. But yeah, they're getting ready for this. They're getting ready for this acquisition. And then they get an email from Logan Madison, and it's saying that, hey, I need your whole team to come out to this retreat with us.
Yeah, he wants all the corpos in Norway.
They want to see what Jerry's all about.
Yeah. I just wanted to call out, there's like a great, I have a note about this, and I think it's just a great bit of physical acting from Frank when he is he's talking to Shiv, because like Shiv comes in and she's all like mad that she wasn't CC'd on the email, and he just does like a little head dip to her, like I CC'd you on the email. I don't know why it. Frank is such a like spastic little like freak. I love the Frank and Carl duo that we've been getting a lot of this season. They are truly great. Yeah,
they are. They are. So basically, they gotta load up ship and go to Norway and for this corporate retreat. And I think they talk about there's a kill list floating around too.
Well, no, that comes later.
Okay.
Like the next thing is Tom and Greg. Yeah, Greg is talking to Greg gets there. He's talking to like Tom and the other corpos, and he's being gross. He's on this gross Greg trip that we've been on all season.
And some hot Scandinavian girls, huh?
Hot Scandinavian girl, huh? And yeah. Then Tom is like, I'm cool because this whole Madsen thing isn't gonna touch me, but the Bugsy Malone gang might
Yeah. He might get him there. A nice little Irish gangster.
Which they talk about later on the plane, where a little bit of brotherly love they offer to fire Tom for Shiv.
Mm-hmm.
And she demurs, and we'll talk more about that later in the episode. That whole dynamic.
I do remember Tom getting on the plane and he's looking at Carl put on his socks, and Carl's kind of leaving him.
Yes, Tom gets bullet. Yeah, no, Tom gets big dogged by like two not middle-aged, two old men putting on compression. Yeah,
putting on compression socks, being like, "Got a problem, jackass?"
Yeah.
I don't think he calls him a jackass. He just had to ask him if he's got a problem, like some lug.
Hey, if you're getting up there in age, fellas, wear compression socks on airplanes. All right. Apparently, that's what killed great American hero Logan Roy. So, that air pressure and its effect on blood flow ain't no joke.
No, it is not. Like, compression socks are the real deal. Wear them if you're doing trucking too, or if you're like a nurse and standing up on your feet all day.
Yeah, I wear compression socks at my job.
Yeah, dude, they're a necessity. They're a necessity, absolutely.
Oh yeah, Shiv immediately. This is an interesting episode for Shiv because she kind of immediately clocks Logan or Kendall's play from last week where they're smearing Logan all over the press.
Yeah.
Kendall tries to play it off before pretending that they're death wrestling ogres instead of just looking at some spreadsheets.
Yeah, just trying to get their facts up. Really, they're just boys are nerding out and being stressed about it.
Well, everyone is stressed because then we also get a great scene with the corporates who are just like, it is so funny because I feel like what the show is always doing here in these scenes is being like, these people's lives and their jobs are so fucking easy, honestly. So like the moment that they are ever actually under like any stress, it's like you and I are like grunt ass like hourly workers, and you and I labor every single day knowing that we could be fired at any second without any excuse and no like extra compensation whatsoever. And anytime these corpos are faced with that kind of stress, it's a complete meltdown for all of them across the board.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit funny, but it is funny to see these actors betraying that and like.
It's you get some great lines in here, like
from Jerry. You get Jerry's great speech.
Yeah, you get Jerry's great speech. You get the I think Carolina calls Madsen's team the NASDAQ Master Race.
Yeah, dude, that was a great line. This writing's funny.
It really is.
Yeah, but Jerry has this great speech about saying that like these guys might be young, but they're soft. They're
European. They have vacations and
they have
healthcare.
Free healthcare, but we've been exposed to a pathogen called Logan Roy, and we are wolves while they're
we were raised by wolves.
Yeah,
they are not going to know what hit them, and it's like, okay, Jerry.
That's that kind of like killer confidence, like you need to kind of come in there with. Is that like, why do we need to do this?
Go
I
ahead.
was gonna say, even though like if they're basically gonna take on the trip, you kind of know the deal is going through. Like that's the big implications. Like they wouldn't be doing this like big corporate like get to know you thing unless this thing was like really actually happening. They wouldn't waste time. Like doesn't make sense. But this stuff does happen sometimes. I imagine. But what were we saying, my friend?
What was I going to say? Probably nothing important. Oh yeah, no, it's like it's very interesting trying to follow where Shiv is at moment to moment.
Yes.
Throughout this season, especially because it's like on some level she realizes like how empty and gross all this bullshit is, but at the same time she really doesn't either.
I think she's raised by it and she kind of like wants to play into it a little bit because it's kind of the thing that she's a little better at. But yeah, no, she is kind of all over the place, and she's still very much at this part. She's still kind of like finding out where she's trying to find out where her role can be.
Yeah,
like she's
yeah,
like
exactly.
Like, yeah, and because she's really confused, she's trying to get in on all these things. The brothers don't really want to include her in anything. They're kind of doing the bullshit, like, yeah, we'll clear everything past you, kind of, not at all, really. Like basically being their dad to her. But then I think pretty much that's the only thing of significance until we land the plane and the Americans get to Norway, and
they are the first meeting between the corpos. Hugo is freaking out because his counterpart in Madsen's team is like a former Olympian, and then as he gets out of the car, he's telling, like, there are a couple of executives here who we've never really even seen before, and he's telling one of them, he's like he dropped a 7-point lead in Sochi, Mark. Possible choker here.
Possible choker, right? Thinking he's got a lead on the Olympic athlete, like. But yeah.
And it this scene is just like it's classic Imperial shit, right? Where it's like whether it's China's Forbidden City or like having to like go all the way through Buckingham Palace to get to the throne room, or it's like the Emperor makes you walk all the way through his domain to get to him, so you can see the splendor of his domain. But it's just like a beautiful forest in Norway. But the fact that he makes them all like take a plane ride and then a van trip and then a like golf cart trip up to his camp, and then he makes the kids and the corpos do a like whole skyline trip up to see him personally. It's just that is some classic like Imperial shit right there.
Yeah, who is the real ruler here? But also, what I also like about this is it's also Imperial in the sense of the conquistadors, the Roy family, much like the English or the Romans around the world, they give no fuck about your cultural norms. They demand to be respected on the same kind of level. If they have to bow to your emperor, they demand someone of their statue bows to a picture of your king. That's one of my favorite stories from the Opium Wars. But anyway, yes, some classic Imperial vibes going on here. From the Swedes and a little bit from the Roys. Still the Swedes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, speaking of classic vibes, I think this is also when we get Connor calling the kids. Calling Kendall and Roman to talk about planning Logan's funeral. How they wanted to put him in a kilt, so he was forced to cancel a meeting with working class whites in Cleveland to come and plan this.
Which I don't understand either about Connor. I'm like, well, is there a problem with him in a kilt, or does like I don't know if there's any indication that like Logan really hated his Scottish heritage or anything. Like I don't know, but I mean, it seems like Connor is like very offended by it. I think kilts are cool. Like that's fine. I think the Scots are pretty cool for having them. I think that you should definitely be proud of them, especially mostly because like they were illegal. Like, and it's like that's a good reason to wear them. Is like a banned article of clothing already makes them more badass. So yeah, I mean, I had no problem with it, but yes, the working class, the not meeting with the working classes in Ohio was a pretty funny line to me, and pretty funny to me that like it's probably the most socialist thing that Connor's ever said.
I think we also cut briefly back here to the corpos. A lot of them are just like loading up on food.
Pigging out.
I noticed that Tom and Caroline of that group did not grab food. And they were the only two from that entire group who were not fired at the end of the episode. I think there's other reasons for the reasons that both of them weren't fired, but you get like a great moment. I think one of the other Roystar executives like puts his pastry on Hugo's plate and then like walks away. So then when like someone comes over to talk to Hugo, he's did you notice this?
I mean like
on my second watch, I noticed that as Hugo is leaving the table and like the Swedes are approaching and starting to josh them a little bit for being piggies.
Yeah.
Like one of the executives like takes the pastry off his plate and puts it on Hugo's plate and then like walks away. So when like someone's like, like food is literally like falling off of Hugo's plate.
Yeah, that's pretty that's pretty good. Isn't that the point too where Hugo takes his loaded plate over to meet his Swedish counterpart?
Yeah, he's like, you were almost hey, 0.3 seconds away from a bronze. That's almost impressive, man.
Yeah. Really, and this dude's like towering. This dude is like towering over him, and it helps. It helps that the actor who's Hugo is like he's got a really skinny neck, so it just really makes it just he's got like, and it's
Mr. Stevens is like he's such a like small little like gremlin of a man. It's beautiful.
That's like this mountain of a man can just like crush with one hand if you wanted to. That's just telling him that like, well, you're almost impressive, huh? Yeah, that was a fun little part. I did not notice the the Royco exam putting the Danish back on the plate. Yeah, I think with the start of the meeting that's what all that happens.
That takes us to the start of the negotiation, and it's just like
a negotiation with the kids with Madison,
it could not be any more clear how incompetent, unqualified, and like utterly talentless in this sphere of human activity Kendall and Roman are. It's just it's hard to watch with just how at every single turn Madsen controls the conversation, puts them out of their comfort zone time and time again. But he comes up with like the offer he comes up with initially is a great fucking offer.
Yeah.
Like the original offer was 144 and the offer he comes out with is 187 for the entire company.
For all Royco. But also his negotiation starting off too is that he was ultimately throwing I wrote down from this is that when the kids came in and Rome is like, of course, Madison's like, I'm like, no, hey, thanks for coming out. Like, thanks for the little imperial walk that I made you do. And Roman quibs back that like, oh yeah, it's not like her dad died or anything. Yeah. And then Lucas literally just one-ups them with like, oh yeah, be glad you didn't find him. That Buick, that Buick was running or that BMW was running and shit's traumatizing, dude. But hey, it's not about measuring dicks. And it's like, oh my God, you're the biggest fucking piece of shit. Like you really are. You really, because at that point I was like, yeah, I wouldn't want to help that guy either. I wouldn't want to sell to that prick. But
he really is such a prick.
Yes. Yes.
And we will get more details on that later. But yeah, the negotiations are just a awkward clusterfuck.
Yes.
Outmaneuvered at every turn. And then they come out and the execs are just standing there hovering like vultures.
Mm-hmm.
Unable to just contain their excitement at the too good offer that Madsen has made.
Yeah. Yeah. But then we get to joking. What happens after that? Sorry, folks.
So then we go down. Yeah, that's right. Then we go down. Everyone's kind of just like chilling and having dinner. I think that's the. They're walking back. They're walking back. Tom and Roman are talking to Shiv.
Okay.
And then that's when we comes out that the Republican nominee, what's his face, is literally on conference calls with ATN every morning.
Yeah.
About the news they're running. And Shiv is outraged. And again, it's not like, how much do you understand about what your family is, Shiv? Like, when you talk about, like, you love your dad and you miss him, like, you have to realize that this is who he was.
Yeah. When he said to her that, yeah, but you get it. It's, what is he getting at? What is he really like getting at? Is that like, yeah, you're also a killer. You know what it is. You know what we get after. And it's not, this is the bottom line. It's not for, and that's what's weird too, is that like, I'm wondering who Shiv's trying to impress the whole time. It's not like, because I'm like,
yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting question, because it's like at the beginning of the show, clearly she's like part of like the liberal political set, and so like a lot of her fighting with her family is due to her having to stake out her position as like a good billionaire amongst that crowd. And it's like, now at this point, it's a good question, Killian, of like who is that outrage for?
Yeah. Like, it's obviously not like for people she cares about. She obviously doesn't really have any. She doesn't even really seem to have any like liberal friends or people who are in that circle.
Yeah, no, we never see her around anyone but her own family, who are all universally horrible.
Like, and I'm just wondering, like, is it just because like you're insulated and you just want to be around that?
But yeah, Shiv does want the deal. She's like, yeah, get rid of ATN. It's a toxic asset. And then we move into like the big everyone's having dinner scene. Tom corners Greg and finds out that Madsen is a Leonardo DiCaprio in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Wears headphones while doing the deed.
Yeah. Just to imagine,
it's like what a weird bit of like inside Hollywood shit to drop in this show of like, oh yeah, no, Leonardo DiCaprio is a psychopath who just like listens to music and like stares at his partner dead-eyed while boning down.
Hey, you don't be a child actor and just like end up completely normal. I mean, hey.
And that's and this is where we find out that there is a kill list. And this is also when Tom, after a circling attempt to build up his courage, sits down, tries to make some extremely awkward small talk.
Yeah.
And then Madsen is just like, is France gonna make it? And it's like, as a country, is France gonna make it? And honestly,
no question too. Like,
what a question! Is France gonna make it in regards to just in general? Is France gonna like make it as a country? Or are they gonna become Greece? And I kind of like Tom's answer here. I think it's honest. I think it's an honest answer, and I think it's even kind of astute in the sense of like from an American media perspective, which is his job.
Yes,
it doesn't fucking matter if France makes it.
It doesn't.
Americans do not care if France makes it.
Overall,
we do not. We have our own Paris. I love this little joke of like, we have our own Paris, and if it burns, we'll build another one.
That's the American way.
That's the American way.
Shout out to the War of 1812 when DC got burned down and they just built it back up again.
Yeah, and also a reference to the Paris is Burning documentary.
Oh, I didn't think about that. But anyway, they do like their little references. Like, I remember during the RNC convention, they're like, this is a nice little, when Tom says to Greg that this is a nice little safe space where you don't have to like pretend to like Hamilton. And Greg's like, I like Hamilton. And Tom's like, sure. Or that would not be a safe space for us, Tim, because we kind of can't contain our love for Hamilton. It's a little hard to do it. Like, it's
I feel love of Hamilton has become cringy, but god damn it, I was into
it's
Alexander.
become cringy, but fuck it. We liked it before it was cringy. Like fuck them. Like it's like I don't give a shit. Like
yeah. Oh, and then oh yeah, Greg comes over and it's like the bag. Greg comes over to like inform this group that he recently read an Economist article, just as a flex. And then he concludes his analysis with the bagel. The baguette is mightier than the bagel.
Yeah. The baguette is mightier than the bagel. Well, and that's another good thing about American media. And like I notice it with us too. It's like they love little like catchy phrases. That's it. They love little catchy phrases that people can just kind of like headline into their mind and then just like repeat instantly during conversation.
Yeah.
They really love those.
And then when Madsen finds out that Greg is a cousin, they erupt into like a whole chorus of like what I have to imagine are like filthy incest jokes just in Swedish. I think you clearly hear the word incest in that little Swedish speech, implying that the Roys are all like basically modern day like inbred Habsburgs. Which...
Oh my god, a little bit of projection there, like. Like, hey, they're Americans. Americans are mutts, man.
And then, Kendall sits down, and we get another extremely awkward negotiation scene where, it's bad. It's
where's
Kendall
the negotiating scene again?
And resentful. It's
just Kendall and Madison again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this
is
the one.
It's just like there's no tension here. I think Shiv was like, "Are we okay here?" And Madsen's like, "We're okay. I'm just trying to make you guys rich." And then Logan's like, "I'm already." I keep calling him Logan. Kendall is like,
makes sense because he's acting.
Rich.
He's acting.
Trying to be. He's trying.
Yeah, he's doing a better impression of his dad than the first season was, but it still is not. It's like it does not sound that confidence and that man is still not the same.
Yeah, no, this is where the gloves really are off for Madsen because he's like, I don't take you guys seriously because you're a tribute band.
Yeah.
Which is just like, fucking straight body blows right to the heart of Kendall Roy as a person.
Yeah. About you can't be the original man who built an empire himself. Which is true. And it's funny that I think that I'm not sure if it's this part or the part previous where, he's mentioning like, oh yeah, but like, we're continuing on our dad dips are going to happen. It's like, oh yeah, well, how much did your company dip? And they have to rebuttal with kind of weak rebuttals of just like, there's going to be dips. There's going to
it dropped 20% on the day, but then it rose 10% when we were announced as CEOs. So.
Right. So it's like dropped 10% with you guys being announced as CEOs. Cool. It's still a net loss. Like it's still kind of like Democratic Party, like talking points to vote for them. It's like, it's kind of weak sauce and really no substance behind it, where people who are really thinking like, well, what are your interests, are kind of questioning whether these people are genuine, whether they're serious about these things.
We get introduced to Eva around here, where Madsen refers to her as like a dose of estrogen they keep around to keep everyone clean. And I think that's also the scene where everyone's just shouting, sauna, sauna, sauna. Yeah. And you get that great scene again, Frank and Carl, fucking season MVP so far. You see everyone in the sauna, and then you see Frank and Carl just sitting outside being like fucking idiots, just hanging their asses outside like turkeys, like basting turkeys.
And I'm wondering if they're doing that for health reasons. Now you mentioned the compression socks. Is
maybe.
like, if they're just like, well, we're old, let's just stay out of it. But definitely from like the perspective that they shoot it in, is it looks like they just look like two old cold raisins not joining the community there, not joining the rest of the boys.
Well, I think the point of that comment too is just like these guys want to kill you, and you are just like showing your whole asses to them to make it nice and easy.
Yes, yes. I've shown you're making it easy for them to fire you.
Yeah. And then it's so after this is where we get this is night. Kendall and Roman are talking, and Kendall's like, I want to blow up this deal, which is the one reason I have this job, and it's like the only way this family will ever make money again. But like, he legitimately thinks that he is a good businessman, despite having no evidence throughout the course of his life to suggest that is the case. And
not even doing it a day, like really, like
or like even before that, like I think when he's talking to Madsen earlier, because Madsen makes the comment of what he wants to do with ATN, and he's like, ATN is just angry men shouting for old white people, and he's like, I don't really see the future in that, so I'm gonna like IKEA this thing to fuck, make it Bloomberg, and they're like, oh, that's stupid, you don't understand what you're buying. And he's like, you fucking bought Voughter for like way too much money and didn't do anything with it. Who the fuck are you to talk?
Yeah. Yeah, Mr. Volt. Yeah, it calls him Mr. Volter, just that little comment. I mean, well, yeah, and that's the thing, is that like Kendall is basically just speaking from a position of just like, as in he is his dad with no accomplishments.
Right.
Like his dad was the way he was because he was like, yeah, I'm the champ. Like it's like I fought my way through the circuit and here I am on top. Like you think you can handle me? You think you can handle me?
And I feel like it's important to make that distinct, because like Roman's the one who has the little psychological freak out, but like Kendall is every bit as motivated by like a deep psychological need to prove himself.
Yes.
Every bit as much as Roman is.
Yes. Wait, is this the part at the end when they're in the field?
No, this is I was kind of skipping forward, but this is like, so that the night that Kendall and Roman agree that they are going to tank this deal.
Yeah.
And then we move to probably the most fascinating scene of this entire episode. Shiv talking to Madsen.
Yep. Shiv finally finding her place on the team. Essentially corporate espionage. Because basically what she that's how I see it. But because it approaches as like she's just trying to like get to know this family. Like she's trying to get to know that. She's trying to find her place.
They have an immediate like kind of like low-key sensual and flirty dynamic that lasts throughout this entire thing. She's throwing out like, yeah, Jerry's cool, Carolina's cool. She's holding a glass of whiskey and is offered cocaine. You never see her drink or do cocaine.
Don't see her partake. Yes.
Yeah.
I remember that. Like I was watching for that, as in like is she willing to risk it? And she's not. She does not seem willing to risk it. So I mean, there is thoughts about that baby on her mind, and like wanting to like you're kind of seeing where she's a little more determined towards that. And I think like didn't we miss beforehand? Like, didn't she like interact with Tom a couple of times? And she said
the big Tom interactions I think are still ahead.
It's after this. Okay, so anyway, like so obviously like watching this, I had Tom in my mind too. I was also affected.
Yeah, well, and Madsen does too, because he asks her, "Hey, girl, you single or whatever? What's the deal with you and your husband?" And she kind of just opens up to him and is like, "Yeah, we are not a thing right now."
Yeah.
I will get more into this, but I feel like there is, I don't know, maybe check me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like we are heading for some like weird psychosexual love triangle between Shiv, Tom, and Madsen.
I don't see it being wrong. I can see them setting that up to him. I can see the reasoning behind that. because and that is pretty interesting too, because it is. I feel like because this is the only part that Shiv is, because what Shiv ends up doing by talking, by opening up like that to him, he ends up opening up to her about like his relationship stuff.
Well, yeah, his fucked up
Yes.
relationship stuff where he starts by being like, I have an ex-girlfriend. As a joke, I sent her a liter of my blood frozen into a brick.
Yeah.
And I just kept doing it again and again and again. And at first it was a joke, and then it wasn't a joke, and then it was a joke again. And now apparently it's not a joke because woke them or whatever. And then and then you find out that his ex-girlfriend is his fucking communications chief.
Sexual harassment.
Who already told Shiv, oh, don't worry, they're gonna have to pay me for every fucked up thing they do, or it's going in my book.
So they basically have a Jerry on their team who is ready to go with his information, ready to be published and printed, who has enough evidence, who's got the fucking guy's blood like in a brick. Apparently several of these.
So many bricks of his blood. And like Shiv rolls with it. She's like giving him a day. Stop sending people with blood. Yes, Jerry and Carolina are cool. You can't fire this lady.
Yeah.
You can't claim deniability because she has your fucking blood. And he kind of was like, yeah, you can take a joke like your dad. Which, again, hitting all of these kids are acting on like psychological triggers.
Yes. Of
like all Shiv ever really wants to be told is that she's like her dad.
Yes.
Despite hating her dad. They all hate their dad.
Yes. They all want to be like him. They all that's the way to impress him beyond the grave, is to be like him.
It's also messy. And then
but I think in that way that is Shiv's kind of unintentional jump into, because her main purpose is to have the dirt. Now she has like that golden ticket. That's her
right. And there is something there, because later on, when we get the actual kill list, Carolina is safe and Jerry is safe. Both two people Shiver's like, no, these are good people.
Yeah.
And he also keeps Tom around, which is, I feel like, just more of that psychosexual setup that we will get more to. All right. So then after, I think the next scene immediately after that is that scene where Shiv and Tom are talking, and it's just like these fascinating relationship dynamics where Shiv is just like going after Tom for his shoes and like kicking dirt on him and telling him that he's a fucking joke and that he's gonna blind all these like molly-addled executives with his stupid white shoes. And then Tom insults her earlobes. It's like, your earlobes are like thick and chewy, and then he like flicks her ear. It's bizarre. It's fascinating. It's fascinating and it's bizarre.
Tom's got a lot of those moments where he does like really odd behaviors as like a transgression, like eating Logan's chicken. That's like one of my favorite parts. Yeah. But yeah, flicking her earlobe as like a transgression of like, I'd like to smack you, but like this is the best I can do.
Eating his chicken, and it's like, in some level, Tom is like inherently submissive to like anyone above him in the power hierarchy. That's just like who Tom is.
Yeah.
So like you've got this like stuff between Shiv and Madsen, and then Shiv and Tom are like a new weird thing again, and now Tom is working for Madsen.
Yeah.
So I feel like whatever happens, it's gonna be weird and messy and fun to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, it is gonna be weird, messy, and fun to watch. And it's kind of fun because I remember Shiv right after this, like also kind of like she kind of like was like kind of like sideways flirting with Tom.
And on the plane back to New York, they're like talking again, and she like invites him to dinner.
Yeah. And she tells him that you can fire what's her name, the one who looks like
Sid, the Roger Ailes of ATN.
Yeah, she looks like Judge Janine. Like the actor they had that kind of reminds me of Judge Janine, but looks less psychotic.
Yeah, but before we get to that scene, we have the mountaintop scene where final negotiation between Kendall and Roman and Madsen. And like one thing they're doing, I think, in the background of that Shiv and Tom scene is that they are playing their latest Transformers movie for the
where the Swedes are. Oh, so they're playing the latest Transformers movie for the Swedes as entertainment.
Yeah, and it's a piece of shit. It's a mess. And they're like telling, Oh, they also that night they leak an article to Greg about how tense things are at the summit.
Yes.
So then Madsen immediately calls their play. This is where he goes into the, "Are you Scooby-Dooing me?
Yeah.
Are you from the Hanna-Barbera Business School? Like, what is this shit? The theme park is haunted. Don't buy it." Like, which is exactly what they're trying to do. He calls that perfectly.
Yeah. Calls him out exactly. And then just Roman has a moment that, like, as many moments that I've had before, where he lets his emotions get to him way too much. And he says, fuck it to his current goal right then. And just takes a piece of his mind and throws it right at him.
I don't even think I feel like they think that what he's doing is actually going to tank this deal.
I think so too. But also like they're losing. I don't think Roman planned to do this. I don't think he planned. I think he just freaked out and just went full on with his method and just said like, and just wanted to give him his piece of his mind and he just says, and his logic is basically, well, we're taking the deal anyway. I'm going to tell this prick exactly what I've been thinking from the start and just tell him straight up about what I think of him. And if he tries to say like, well, they were faking me the whole time, I'm going to call it a negotiation tactic and fuck him. Like, go ahead and like throw me off. I don't care. Like, I don't care. Like, fuck you. These are my balls, motherfucker. Fuck you. Like, you've jerked, like you jerked me around enough like this. It's like, yeah, well, we'll keep jerking you off because we don't like you. Because like, we just hate your fucking face. We hate all this. And yeah, basically he's done a moment that I very much have had before of telling everyone all these names that you're really in no position to tell them and not realizing like what kind of mistake you're making, but still with his motivation, it's like, well, I don't care anyway. Kendall's the whole time kind of looking on this big emotional rant that the Roman is giving.
Not saying anything. Yeah.
Yep. Letting him have his moment. And that's what I love is that like, I've also felt when Roman said he was pre-grieving or he was, when he was pre-grieving in the last episode, I knew that this is what it was going to mean is it's like, oh, it's all you're bottling it all up until you can't have it anymore. And then you're going to explode. And that's where this all leads to. And I love moments like that.
Yeah, I do too.
In terms of seeing it done in theater and stuff. But when you do them yourself in real life, it ends up a little messy. And they really did a great job. Kieran Culkin doing a great job of like expressing that real moment. One of the more fun parts about acting, in my opinion.
Okay, great. Brilliant performance from Kieran Culkin.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Shout out.
And like the way it starts too, where like Madsen is taking a piss and Kendall or Roman just like goes and sits like directly in front of him.
Yeah.
It's every part of it works so well.
Does every little bit of like showing him he's not shook and like getting in his face and like Madsen giving him opportunities to like walk it back of like, hey brother, you're going too far. And he's like, no, I'm gonna go further. I'm gonna go further.
Right.
And like I just don't care. Like he's absolutely manic with like how he's willing to like throw this negativity.
And like I'm like, and it was great to watch. And then obviously it doesn't work because like the next scene is on the plane and Madsen just does exactly what he said he was going to do, like from the beginning of that mountaintop negotiation. Of like, all right, if you two pricks don't want to sell, I'm just gonna go over your head to the board. And so he calls I think he calls Frank or Carl.
Yep.
And it's like 194 or 195.
Something they absolutely cannot say no to.
They literally, because like, yeah, Kendall, I think as they're going back down, Roman says to Kendall, like, is it and also part of the reason of Roman's, it should be noted, is that on their way up, apparently Connor had sent them a picture of Logan's body.
Oh yes.
Being dressed for the funeral.
Yes. And that
And
fucked Roman up.
that fucked Roman up.
Yeah.
Because he loves his dad. Like, he cannot acknowledge that his dad is a prick.
Yeah.
In that, before that, there's a moment of like, I like dealing with your dad. He was a prick, but like, you could deal with it. And Roman's like, my dad wasn't a prick. And it's like, come on, Roman. Like, really?
He smacked the fuck out of you, dude. Like, he smacked the fuck out of you. And I'm guessing a lot in childhood, too.
Both literally and metaphorically.
Yes.
Like, for your entire life. Right up until the night before he died. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. It is crazy. But while they are on that plane and before they get that news, Kendall and Roman both look like they're at their dad's funeral already. They both look like defeated, sullen men who are like, "Fuck!" Like, how are we?
After
what's
they
our
get
next
that
step?
news, they're like, what do we do now? We just lost everything except they both gained billions of dollars, but
Yes.
I mean, money is meaningless to them.
Yes.
They want to be something. They want to be important. They want to have a share of their dad's legacy, but they also both know that they are like fundamentally incapable of building any kind of successful enterprise. I feel like that's a big part of it. Because like they could take their money and go buy Purge still if they want to.
If they want, yeah,
but
they have enough to do it.
Yeah, that would be work. That would be hard.
Yeah. That they would actually have to be competent and like rely on people that they don't normally already have around them. Like
exactly.
Their dad's vultures, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have to be exchanging vultures, which they still could do it. And yeah, now they're faced with that problem of like, now that you have freedom, what will you do with it? And what skills do they have? And then they have the scarier question of like, who are we? Here's the thing, Tim. I think these people do have value. They just don't know where the fuck it is. Like they really don't know like what any of their purpose is. And especially in the world that they're in and they're used to, that they only got there through nepotism. And it's like there are aspects that a couple of them might be like that might be better at it. Like, like Roman might be like a good, I don't know, like a media supervisor. I'm sure there's like a position that like would Roman's like hand on the cultural pulse. Like I'm sure like there is a position where he would be useful in that. And it might not be for ATN.
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's potential for it. I mean, I'm willing to believe that like without this position that these people are in, without just going up through nepotism, without like, Shiv getting a job because she's like Logan Roy's daughter, where are these people themselves? Like what does Shiv know about politics? What does Kendall really know about negotiating business deals? What does Roman actually know about the media landscape? Like all these things, it's like, I don't think that they're really suited out for like what they think their purposes are. And their dad was a failure in that too, because he wasn't molding them at all. He was, every time they made a mistake, he just would like rub their nose in the dirt about it.
Yeah.
And, and like would just keep calling out their faults and not actually building them on what they needed to do. And that's the ultimate failure of Succession. Is it's you're trying to.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Yes. Because Logan was a builder. He built this great company. He built a globe-spanning media empire. The one thing he was never able to build was a family or like anyone capable of continuing his legacy.
Yes.
Of actually succeeding him.
Yeah. And that's title of this show, and that's what we're gonna see the end result of. And I think we'll kind of end this and kind of thinking about like our little predictions of like how they're gonna go about this now.
I have no idea where they go from here.
It's so open-ended.
Like presumably Kendall at least still wants to tank the deal in some way, shape, or form.
Yes. I can see that happening for sure, because Kendall is like, he's the destined CEO now. He's the one, like he's the prince he's the prince who was promised now.
Yes.
He has his mission and he wants to take his rightful place on the throne.
He does. And it's like, and then there's still like all of these like skeletons in the closet that are kind of like cocked and ready to be pulled out. Because like Kendall murdered someone in season 1.
And he told his siblings.
And he told his siblings. Marcia knows, and Colin knows. Logan's body man still knows. Creepy
Donald Trump looking body man.
Yeah. And And then we also have Madsen also has some skeletons in his closet that Shiv now knows about. So
Yep.
who knows what's gonna go on there?
Yep. And yeah, I'm still pulling for Greggy. I'm still pulling for Greggy to have. I'm still hoping that he gets his settlement from Greenpeace, and he becomes that full corporate goon. Or
He's
corporate
trying, man. He's part of the Quad Squad. How can you go wrong with being part of this guy Quad Squad?
I love his interaction.
The family.
Yeah,
fuck. Go get me a coffee, says Shiv. Like, the writing is just so great in this show.
Oh my God, it is. I mean, and that's the thing is, like, no matter how even if they go forward and they just go like, yeah, each of them are gonna be like, just make a trust fund and just be smart with their money or something. Like, if any of them like just did something like that, where like, no, I'm gonna live humbly. It's like I'd still be interested in watching because I know them. Like, I mean, I know I trust the writers to go a direction that makes sense for these characters. I know that these writers have seemed to like write their characters with integrity, and I hope I'm not jinxing it by giving them props right now before like halfway through the finale of the season. So I'm just gonna say keep up the good work. I'm loving it. All the acting's great too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's hard to say like what's gonna happen next because things are so up in the air, and you can really jump any single way you want to with it, and that's what makes it so exciting for next week's episode.
Yes, indeed.
All right. Well, do you have anything to add on top of that, Tim?
No, I think that's all for us. So until next time, keep working.
Keep on working. Oh.